property managing company or property managers. Now we have independent managers, and we have companies who are also managers. So our focus today will be on property companies, not just property managers that are independent operators. So our focus again is on property management companies. So when you see us talking about companies in the course of our discussion, is because we are focusing on the property management company. In subsequent series, we are going to also be looking at the property managers who are independent practitioners themselves, who do not have a very formal structure. So today we are going to begin by telling a little story, as we always do. And today's story, we have Mr. Okoje Ahmed. Now, Mr. Okoje Ahmed is a renowned real estate practitioner and recently incorporated his own company. But he wants to know if there are certain structures that he needs to put in place. Are there certain departments? Are there certain persons that should be brought on board in order for him to have an effective management company? It is not enough for you to have a company that is set up in your name, maybe because you want to have a special brand that your name as a property manager is known with. But there are certain things you must put in place. There are certain structures that must be seen in your company for you to have an effective management system. So like every other company, a property management company has to be registered. Let's say you have gone past that stage, you have just registered your company. Now, there are certain things that you must put in place. You need to have some key offices, and you need to have some key officers occupying all of these offices in order to deliver that services which your clients are clamoring for. So we are going to be looking at some of these offices today. Because of time, we are just going to be looking at 8. It does not mean that you have to restrict yourself to these 8 positions we'll be looking at. You can also look at some other positions in subsequent time. Also, we have some offices meshed together, because not every company can afford to have all of these departments at a go. But when you are expanding, you can start separating them to meet the demands that you may have. Now, the first we will have here is Chief Executive Officer. Now, some call them the chairman, some refer to them as the managing director. Now, but for today, for the purpose of today's discussion, we are going to be referring to this person as the Chief Executive Officer. Now, most times what we see is that the Chief Executive Officer is always a person who owns the company. If it's not the person that owns the company, it's the person that has the highest shares, one who has the highest stake. If the company fails, he's the one who has the most to lose. So this person occupies the highest position in the company, and is almost like the brain boss of the company. He has the ideas. He brought the idea that, okay, this is what we want in the company. He directs the affairs of the company. So we are going to be looking at some of the rules that this person who is a Chief Executive Officer is expected to play in order to ensure that we have an effective property management company. Now, we are going to list some. We are not going to list all of them. You can also go online and also ask questions to get all others. Now, the first thing is formulating and successfully implementing the company policy. Now, you are the owner of the company. You need to formulate policies that, okay, this is the direction the company must go. If we don't go that direction, it means you need to retract. So you must ensure that you formulate policies as a CEO and give direction to the company. Now, directing strategy towards the profitable growth and operation of the company. Just like what I said earlier, if you want the company to be profitable, you need to give it a direction. Not just, okay, you enter the market as it goes. No, that shouldn't be the case. When you are setting up a company, you should have a direction. Okay, this is the area I want my company to go into, and this is how we are going to go about it. That's what this point is saying. Now, developing a strategic operating plans that reflects the long-term objectives and priority established by the board. Now, when you are saying the board, it means you are going to have some persons who are coming together to form a board as you are set up a company. Now, as a CEO, you are the head of all of these boards, all of these persons that are coming together to ensure effective service delivery of your company. Now, you want to develop that plans that all of these persons are going to follow. You are the one who gives instruction. Okay, this is the way we are going to go, and every other person reports back to you, either directly or indirectly. Every report of the affairs of the company comes back to your desk. So it must be tailored around the plans excuse me, that you have for the company. Now, you also have the duty to put in place adequate operational planning and financial control system. Now, like I said, every other department that may be in the company reports back to you. So you must ensure that all of these things, you have to put in place adequate operational planning. It's not like, okay, you have 1,000 today, you are going to spend this 1,000 this way. You plan before the money comes, and that helps you to keep in check whatever you are doing. So you must ensure that you plan both finances and everything that concerns the company. So to save time, we are just going to highlight them and not delve into them properly. Now, you're also ensuring that the operating objectives and standards of the performance are not only understood but owned by the management and other employees. Now, it's not enough for you to say, okay, this is what we want to do. Do these persons understand your ideas? Now, you are the brain boss of the company. The persons that are coming together to work with you, do they understand your objectives? So it is your duty to ensure, as the chief executive officer, that the persons that are working with you as a team understand the ideas of your company. If they do not understand, they may not be able to function properly. But if they understand where you are going and why you are going that direction, they will be able to flow with you as you are going. Another duty the CEO performs is closely monitoring the operating and financial results against plan and budgets. Now, you have planned, you also have a budget. So you need to monitor how all of these things are going, if they are in line with what you have set out to do. Then taking remedial actions where necessary and informing the board of significant changes. Now, there are bound to be remedial actions in the company where, say, things are done in a way maybe not appropriate or not done so well that you would have expected, or according to the instructions that have been given to the persons who are to carry out all of those actions. So that's another thing that can be done by the chief executive officer. Now, another one is assuming full accountability to the partners of the company. You are not going to be alone. You are the CEO. There are other persons who have stake in the company. So you are going to be accountable to all of these persons who are also have a stake in the company. Another thing you need to do, or you are expected to do as a CEO, is representing the company to major customers and professional associations. There are persons who are going to be your customers, and there are other bodies that also you have associations as a property manager, real estate practitioners, they have associations, and other professional bodies that may come to work with your company. You are the one who will be the face of the company. You are the one to liaise with all of these persons to ensure that the company keeps going as it ought to. Now, another key office or officer you should have is the Chief Operating Officer. Now, the office of Chief Operating Officer ensures the smooth running of the affairs of the company. Now, the CEO may not always be on ground, but this Chief Operating Officer is always there to ensure that, okay, things go on smoothly. If there is any challenge, he's the first person to get in contact with. So he ensures that everything goes well in the company. Now, what are the roles that he has to play? Designing and implementing business operations. Now, you need to draw up your business operation. Excuse me. Now, the CEO has given you the direction that the company must go. You are to plan towards those areas. Okay, this is how we are going to go and how we are going to go about it. That's one thing that the person who is a Chief Operating Officer has to do. The CEO is the brain boss of the company. Now, the function, it's like the heart of the company. This Chief Operating Officer is one who ensures that everything goes smoothly. The CEO cannot always be there, as I stated earlier, but this person needs to be there to ensure every department functions properly. If they fail, he's the first person to be contacted. Why did this department fail? So that's the role of the Chief Operating Officer. Now, establishing policies that promote company culture and vision. Every company has its own culture and vision, so you are the one to ensure that everything goes in line with what the company represents in and out. Also, overseeing operations of the company and the work of the executives. There are other persons who are also working in the company who are also officers. So he's the one who oversees them. The CEO does not have time to see all of this. So when he oversees all of these persons who are operating in every other department, he reports back to the CEO for effective decision making and other things that relates with the company. Now, he also sets comprehensive goals and performance and growth. Now, if the CEO has told the company, okay, this is what we want to do, now it is left for the Chief Operating Officer to implement all of these goals. So if there are things that need to set in motion, he's the one to do all of that, not the CEO. So he's directly in charge of everything that concerns the company. He also oversees the daily operations of the company and the work of the executive. Other departments, like I said earlier, they report to him, so you need to oversee them. Okay, this person is supposed to do this particular thing. Has the person done it? If the person has not done it, what is the reason holding the person or preventing the person from doing it? So you need to do all of these things as the Chief Operating Officer. And also, if you have someone who is acting in that capacity as a Chief Operating Officer, you need to ensure that this person does all of these tasks. He is the one also to evaluate the performance by analyzing and interpreting data metrics. Now, there are data that always come to the office, okay, records of everything that is going on in the company. So he's the one to analyze all of this data that has been brought forward. How are these persons performing? Now, you need to rate persons the way they are performing their duties, maybe quarterly, or you do it twice a year, or you can do it annually. But to ensure that there is no lagging when you are doing your all of these things, you need to maybe quarterly assessment. You assess these persons. It is based on the data that is brought before you that you do all of these analysis. So you must ensure that you analyze everything that concerns the company. You also write and submit reports to the CEO for all matters, in all matters of importance. Now, I said earlier that he reports directly to the CEO. Other persons may not have the opportunity of reporting to the CEO, but he is the one to report to the CEO. So if there is any complaints or there is progress that has been made, he's the one that has to put together all of these things and present it to the CEO in a very presentable manner. He is also to assist the CEO in the performance of his duties. The CEO can be very busy in performance of his duty because he's going out there, also meeting with top persons in the real estate sector in order to get more customers and business for the companies. The CEO is almost like the brand ambassador of the company, so he may not always be on ground. Certain roles of the CEO that he may not be available to perform at a time, the COO can always step in to perform all of these roles, and he gives reports back to the CEO at the end of the day. Now, the third office we can also look at in this structure when you're setting up your company, the third office you need to set up is Sales and Marketing Officer. Now, the person occupying this office, sales office and marketing, you need to fill this particular position. We are combining this because of persons who are just starting. But if you have been in operation be a very long time, or your company has now expanded, you can begin to separate all of these offices. But for now, we are going to merge both sales and marketing office together. Now, what does this person do? This is a very crucial position because of the nature of the business of management company. Now, as a property management company, you know you need to do lots of marketing. There are persons whom you have not onboarded yet, so you need to onboard many persons, many customers and all of that. You need to present to them, okay, this is what we do and how we do it. You need to sell your products to them. The product you are selling is your services, so you are the one to market all of these products to them. So you must ensure that you employ the services of someone who can talk, who can meet with persons at different points in time. Now, what are the special roles that this person is expected to play in your office as a property management company? Now, he's responsible for preparing, planning, and project managing of all the products of the company. Now, you have risks that you are managing property. You have the kind of property you are managing. You have different requirements that you want your prospective customers or clients to meet. So all of these things is they want to push them out to the persons who are coming in to work with your company. It's also responsible for creating marketing campaigns and working with the company's external PRO agency. Now, the person is not just going to sit in the office and say, okay, I'm delegating. He needs to work with other persons whom the company may recruit. Now, the company may not be able to do all of the marketings, but they can recruit other agencies. Now, if there are persons the company have recruited who are external persons they have recruited to ensure that they get more clients into the company, he is the one that those companies are going to report to. Now, if they are giving a report to him, he needs to analyze and digest the reports and see how they can profit from all of these clients that are coming in. Now, he's also contributing to the annual sales and marketing plan. Now, he's to plan with the CEO and the COO when it comes to marketing purposes. Now, these persons who are occupying the office of the COO and the CEO, they may not be experts in this particular area. So because you are an expert in marketing and sales, you need to advise them when it comes to sales. That's one of the roles you have to play as a marketing officer in the company. You also to evaluate the effectiveness of all marketing activities. Now, you need to assess what you have done so far. Let's say you have adopted plan A in doing your marketing. Maybe quarterly you decide, okay, let's evaluate what we have done so far. Has it been working? What's the success rate? Is it 100%? What was the target we set out before going? Was it 70%, at least 70%? Have we met that target? That's what you need to do. You need to evaluate your marketing strategy. Is it working? If it worked last year, is it going to work this year? Has values changed? So you need to consider all of these things. This is what we mean by evaluating marketing strategy and activities. Then another thing is to plan. Another thing you need to do is to plan, develop campaigns as agreed within the company. Now, if the company has sat on a particular issue, okay, this is the direction we must go, you are to plan in that direction. You are not supposed to bring in new ideas when other persons have not approved, because the ideas you are bringing on board may be different from what the company represents. And if you are doing that, it means we cannot work together as a company. So being a team member, you must develop plans in line with what the company has set out to do. You also need to record sales, credits, and cash transactions. Now, as a marketing officer, it is not enough for you to go out there and sell products or market products. You must record them. Okay, this is what we did today. You have a record for them, and this is what we want to do tomorrow. You plan. If you are planning, you also need to record all the things that you have done on the field and back in the office. Some sales take place outside the office, while some take place in the office. So you must ensure that there is effective record keeping when it comes to sales. Another office you need to also look at is the website handler. Now, we are in the era of social media where everything is basically done online. Now, during the COVID-19, we saw that businesses were shut down. Every person had to go online. Now, if you were the type that said, okay, everything has to be physical, how are you going to cope? Businesses that went online during the COVID period are still online at this moment. So you must ensure that when you are coming online or coming into this business of property management, you need to maintain your online presence. You need to create your own website. You need to have someone who is to manage a web. Okay, this is what we want to do. This is what you are putting out there for persons to see, and this is how we want the people to see us. Your company image needs to be maintained online, not just other social media platforms. You should have a separate website that, okay, if someone has any question to ask, they have a platform that, okay, this is where we can go to, we get our questions answered. You have your emails, your contacts, and every other thing. If there are projects that you have done that can also convince other persons to come on board, you need to put it out there on your website. So you need to have someone who is managing your website, not just creating it and leaving it dormant. There are persons who, if you sit there and when they see they don't get responses from questions they have asked, then they tend to go somewhere else where they can get response. So you need to have someone who handles your website to get effective results. Now, what are the rules? Is responsible for day-to-day maintenance of the website. So it's not just for you to hire someone because the person said, okay, I can manage a social media platform. No, someone who is responsible for the website should be someone who is skilled when it comes to website designing and everything that concerns website. So he ensures that the website is always in good hands. Now, another thing he needs to do is to ensure the security of your website. Websites are prone to attacks because, okay, maybe someone sees this particular web is generating traffic and he wants to get into it, and maybe because of one thing or the other he has in mind, he may want to break into the site. So you need to get someone who ensures the security of that site. And he also checks for error. If there is any error or irregularities in the site, he needs to make sure that everything is in order always. He can also develop a mini strategy for the website update and maintenance. Now, if you are going to update the website, maybe you had some information before now, or some persons even have apps, but you need to update your apps regularly. You are bringing in new ideas, you are bringing in new things. So you need to get someone that can manage this thing effectively. Now, another thing that this person does is sending data to necessary and appropriate channels. There are persons who may be subscribed to that website. They want to be getting updates. Once you post something, there is a way they always get all of these things. So you need to have someone who has clear idea of what you want to do and gets the job done. You also be responsible for supporting it for productivity and success purposes. Now, it's not just going to be one person operating your web. There should be other persons who are under him. So you'll be the one to guide others towards the goals of the company. Another position you need to have in your office when you are setting up the structure is accountant, an accountant or account officer, as the case may be. Now, the accountant is responsible for the performance of the company as directed by articles of association. Now, when you are setting up a company, there is always something called article of association. So this article gives defines rules each person is expected to play. So the accountant or the account officer is expected to apply all of those things that are set out in the article of association. But however, we can also highlight some of the roles that an accountant is expected to play, or an account officer is expected to play in your company. One is to prepare asset, liability, and capital accounts entries by compiling and analyzing account information. Another one is monitoring of business accounts. You are going to have numerous accounts, not just one. Maybe because of convenience, you may have an account with bank A. Your customer is saying, I bank with bank B. I don't want to start transferring money from this one to this one because of charges. Maybe there's huge sum involved. And you know there are charges here and there these days where you are sending money from one bank to the other. They'll start telling you this one. To avoid excuses, companies are advised to have multiple accounts with different banks. So for convenience, you can tell customer you can either use bank A, B, C, or D. So you need to ensure that you have someone as an account officer who ensures there is a balance at all times to ensure everything goes smoothly. Now, the account officer is also responsible for the disbursement of funds, either to employees or any other purpose. You may also want to have your own property as a property management company. You also have persons who are working there. So when there is any expense to be made, he's the one who initiates, and you, maybe CEO as the case may be the one to approve if he wants to be part of it. It's also to be a co-signatory to the account of the company. Now, it's also to summarize the current affairs, financial status of the company. Now, every company is expected to file annual returns to CAC. Now, this accountant also works with those who are going to audit the accounts and every other person that may need to look through the records of the company. So you need to ensure that you get an account officer to avoid running short of what the law requires of you. Now, he also maintains accounting controls by preparing and recommending policies and procedure. Now, there are financial procedures that every company is expected to follow. It's the accountant that will give you these guides. It's not just someone else. It has to be a professional, someone who has been certified as an accountant that you must employ in this particular office. Now, if you don't have an accountant, a certified one, how are you going to know what the financial regulations are for your company? Every company has its own peculiar regulation that may apply. So you must have an accountant that will be able to tell you, okay, for this particular area, this is what is expected and this is how we can go. He will also be responsible for the subordinates. Now, there are persons who are going to employ under the person. Let's say you have an accounting department, you have a head. There are other persons who are also in that department. So the account officer is the one in charge of all other persons who are in that department. Now, another very important office you need to have is customer service officer or human resource officer. Now, some persons combine them, while in some offices you have them separate. Now, the customer service officer or the HRO is responsible for the performance of the company as directed by the article of association. Now, all of these things are usually defined in the article, but in some cases, maybe because of expansion and what the company did not expect to grow so fast, they may not have it initially when they registered. So you still need to have customer service officer or the HRO. Now, what are the roles that the HRO is expected to play? Now, he attracts potential customers by answering products and services questions, suggestions, informations, and all of that. Now, if someone wants to make inquiry about the products that your company offers, he is the first person to get in contact with. Now, maybe the CEO has gone out to tell you, okay, this is what I'm going out to do. I'm going to meet with some clients. Now, if they have inquiries to make, the CEO may not be there to take calls. He may not be there to answer to emails. So you need this particular person to answer all of these questions that customers may have. He is also in charge of salaries, remuneration, promotion, and training of staff, and is also prepare the HRO budget and strategy. Now, as the HRO, you are in charge of staff promotion. When there is need to train staff, you are also the one in charge of all of that. Payment of salaries, you are also in charge of that. You are responsible for the management of all the employees of the company, irrespective of who the person is. As a HRO, you are in charge. You must exert your authority when necessary. Don't say, okay, because this person seems to be higher than me in rank, as long as you remain the HRO, you are in charge. Then for the customer service officer, you also ensure that the customers are satisfied. You ensure you employ as much as possible the skills that are required to perform your role as a customer service officer. Now, you are also to open customers' accounts by recording customers' account information. Now, if someone has joined your company, has been onboarded as your client, you need to profile that person. Okay, this is what this person is bringing on board, and this is the property we are managing for this person. So you are the one to take records. If the person wants to ask any questions regarding the property, some may not have all the information again because they are giving them to you. They expect you to update them on the affairs of their property, so you are to keep appropriate record of everything that concerns the property. Now, we also have the social media manager or data collection officer. Like I told you when we started, some offices are to be merged for companies that are just starting. Maybe as you keep growing, you can now start separating all of these offices. Now, the social media manager is responsible for the company's performance on social media space. Now, businesses are marketed on different social media platforms. You have WhatsApp, you have Instagram, you have Twitter, you have WeChat, and all of that. So you need to maintain your presence in all of these social media platforms. It is the social media handler or the social media manager that ensures all of this. This person is different from the website handler. You need to get that very clearly. This person is different. Why the website handler is responsible for the website itself, why this social media officer is responsible for social media platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter. You put your products out there. You need to maintain your presence there. That okay, when somebody is looking, somebody on Facebook, for instance, is looking for property managers, he can easily find you there because you have someone who is always posting about your company, your products, new thing that you have brought on board to satisfy customers. If you have all other departments and you don't have this particular one at this age, you are likely not to make as much success that you have planned for your company. So you must maintain that online presence by always updating customers. Okay, these new products, this is how we are serving you, and all of that. Now, what are the roles that you expect to play? Deliberate planning and goal setting, development of brand awareness and online reputation. That's what I just explained. So you need to maintain that particular awareness. It's also to ensure and also administrate everything that concerns that particular area. Now let's quickly look at another area that persons also find difficult to consider when they are setting up their company. Now this is the position of the company secretary or legal officer. Now many persons will say, what do I need a lawyer for? I can do all of these things myself. After all, I was the one that set up the company myself. I have clear idea of where I want the company to be in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Now, why do you need a lawyer? Now, the company secretary and the legal officer, I said, will be combining all of these offices where necessary. You can separate them as you grow. Now, the company secretary is responsible for taking correspondence, sending of correspondences, giving notices to persons. Now, if you have a company that persons have bought shares, you need to have your meetings, maybe annual general meeting, extraordinary general meeting, and other meetings that you may need to have, board of directors meeting, or any other meeting. Non-executive directors, they may also want to meet. So it is the secretary that gives notice to these persons who are entitled to attend all of these meetings. Now, as you may know, if you fail to give notice to some persons who are entitled to notice of meeting, whatever you have discussed may not hold as much water to have heard if notices were given. Who are the persons to give notice? It's the person who are in this department, or the legal officer, or the company secretary, as the case may be. You know, we are combining some offices for convenience purpose because the company is just starting. Now, the legal officer also ensures that the company complies with all the rules that governs companies, not just companies. As a property manager, there are different laws that regulates property management companies and real estate sector. Now, if there are laws that regulates the operation as a property manager, then you need a lawyer who is versed in all of these areas to ensure, okay, you are always in line with the legal requirements. You are required to file annual return. He's the one to tell you, okay, it is time for you to file annual return. You are required to file reports with the EFCC, Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering. There is a report you are expected to file every month. Now, if money is coming to your account, you need to ensure that you file appropriate reports. It is the legal officer that is who is in tune with what is going on in the society with regards to laws that are passed daily that will help you understand, okay, this is what is required at this point in time for you to do all of these things. So you must ensure that all of these offices are in place when you are setting up your company, or you have already set up the company. For effective performance, you need to have all of these offices. Now, in summary, you need to have some key offices and have key officers, not just officers, persons who are experienced in all of those areas before you can get them on board. It is when you have these offices occupied that you can have effective service delivery. When you fail to have all of these offices, you see that you start dragging. Maybe something that you could have done in 10 minutes, something you could have done in 2 weeks, you find yourself doing it in a longer period because you do not have persons who are occupying all of these things. Now, for the legal officer, again, is the one to also advise you on liabilities. When there are contracts that you need to sign, you want to sign up a customer, is the one to prepare these contracts and also review them if you retain the services of an external solicitor. If you have an agreement that you want to enter with someone, is the one to review them. If you don't review all of these things, you may find that at the end of the day you land yourself in trouble. And if that is the case, you end up selling off everything that you have acquired just because you are avoiding paying or recruiting the right persons to help you run your company. So that's how far we can go today. I hope you have been able to learn one thing or the other that will help you build that your management company. Follow us on all our social media platforms to get updates on all our topics that we are bringing up every day. You can also join us live again next week and see how we can learn something different from what we have learned today to improve our management skill. My name again is Destiny Onuate Ijebo. Thank you for joining us today.